What if the most documented psychic in history left behind a chilling warning? A warning that the feeling you have of being lost, of not quite belonging in this world, isn't just in your head. It's a memory, a faint nagging echo of a time before you were a prisoner. What if the very fabric of our material existence, the endless cycles of birth, life, and death, is not a journey of learning, but a sophisticated cage? A quarantine for the soul. For decades, the transcripts of America's sleeping prophet, Edgar Cayce, have been studied for their insights on health and spirituality. But woven within these thousands of pages is a cosmic story so vast and unsettling, it challenges the very foundation of human identity. His readings describe a cosmic fall, a forgotten divine heritage, and a world that was never meant to be our permanent home. This is the story of how your soul, a being of immense light and power, became entangled in matter, and how Cayce's work may hold the blueprint for remembering the plan to finally escape. Before we get into the heart of this cosmic mystery, we have to understand the man who brought it to light. Edgar Cayce was, by all accounts, an ordinary man who had an extraordinary gift. Born in rural Kentucky in 1877, Cayce was a devout Christian, a Sunday school teacher, and a man who read the Bible once for every year of his life. He never sought fame or fortune, yet he would become one of the most prolific and documented psychics of the 20th century. His journey didn't start with a grand vision, but with a personal crisis, a case of laryngitis that left him unable to speak above a whisper. When doctors couldn't help, Cayce tried a self-induced trance, a state that looked like sleep. In this state, he was supposedly able to diagnose his own condition and prescribe a cure that worked perfectly. This became his life's work. For over 40 years, lying on a couch with his eyes closed, Cayce would give more than 14,000 of these readings to people from all walks of life. His process was meticulous. His wife, Gertrude, would conduct the sessions, while his secretary, Gladys Davis, transcribed every word. These weren't vague fortunes. Proponents claim the readings often contained stunningly specific medical terminology that Cayce, with only an 8th grade education, couldn't have known. Anecdotes from his followers credit him with diagnosing diseases with uncanny precision. However, it's important to understand that these are anecdotal claims, and the scientific community generally views his medical work as pseudo-scientific. Beyond health, Cayce's readings ventured into history and metaphysics. He spoke of ancient civilizations like Atlantis with incredible detail, and discussed the Essene community decades before their connection to the Dead Sea Scrolls was widely understood. While his followers found these descriptions startlingly consistent with later findings, many historians point to significant inaccuracies, and there is no scholarly consensus that his readings provided verifiably unique information. His most profound and controversial insights weren't about the body or history, but about the soul. As a devout Christian, Cayce himself initially struggled with the information coming through him, especially the concept of reincarnation. But reading after reading, the narrative persisted. It spoke of a journey far grander and more tragic than many mainstream religions describe. According to Cayce, he wasn't channeling spirits. He claimed he was accessing a universal database, a cosmic hard drive he called the Akashic Records, or the Book of Life, where the story of every soul is recorded. It's from this alleged source that the blueprint of our cosmic prison emerges. To understand the prison, we first have to remember the freedom that came before it. According to the Cayce readings, your existence didn't begin at birth. It didn't even begin on this planet. Your soul's origin predates physical existence by eons. Imagine a state of being, a sea of consciousness that Cayce identified as God, or the creative forces. The story goes that this force, desiring companionship, projected from itself countless sparks of light. You are one of those sparks. In the beginning, as described in Cayce's cosmology, all souls were created as companions and co-creators with God. You weren't made to be a subservient subject, but a divine partner. The readings describe these original souls as beings of pure energy, sons and daughters of God, existing in a state of perfect unity. In this spiritual state, Cayce's philosophy suggests you had abilities that would seem godlike to us now. You could supposedly move across dimensions at will, unconstrained by time or space, and create with the power of your thoughts. Communication was telepathic. There was no division, sickness, or death, only the joyful expression of creative energy. This divine plan had a couple of big goals. First, for the Creator to express itself through a multitude of individual perspectives. And second, for each soul to experience its own individuality, use its free will, and ultimately return to the source, not as a copy, but as a wise, conscious co-creator. Your purpose wasn't to worship from afar, but to become a worthy companion to the Creator. There was no good or evil, only experience. There was no master plan you were forced to follow, only a cosmic invitation to be, to create, and to know yourself. This was your birthright, a state of absolute freedom and unity with the divine. It's the memory of this state, buried deep in your soul, that might be the source of that profound, inexplicable feeling that you were made for something more. It's the echo of a home you can't quite remember, but can never truly forget. So, if we started out as divine co-creators, how did we end up here, in a world defined by limits, suffering, and death? The Cayce readings paint a picture not of a fall from grace born of sin, but of a grand, dangerous experiment born of curiosity. The newly formed material realms, planes of existence with much denser vibrations like our Earth, were a new cosmic playground. According to this narrative, the earliest souls, driven by their creative impulse, began to project their consciousness into these realms. At first it was playful. They experimented by creating forms with their thoughts, giving rise to what our ancient myths might call fantastical creatures. But matter had a quality that spirit didn't: inertia. It was heavy, slow, and seductive. As souls projected themselves deeper into their material creations, their thought forms began to harden. The vibrant energy of spirit became entangled in the dense structures of the physical world. The experiment became an entrapment. This was the moment of the great forgetting. Immersed in the powerful sensory experiences of the material plane, souls began to lose their connection to their divine source. The constant quiet hum of universal consciousness was drowned out by the noise of the physical world. They forgot who they were, their original powers, and their cosmic purpose. The creators became trapped by their own creations. This was the birth of the prison, not one built by a vengeful god, but one forged from the soul's own entanglement in materiality. The very laws of this physical dimension, cause and effect, time and decay, birth and death, became the bars of the cage. According to Cayce's readings, the arrival of these souls was a disruption to the planet's natural order. They were foreign entities, spiritual beings not designed for the slow evolutionary rhythm of Earth. As countless souls became ensnared, their light dimming behind the veil of flesh, other souls in higher realms saw their plight. Out of compassion, these more aware souls made a courageous choice. They voluntarily entered the material plane on a rescue mission. They agreed to be born into human form, to walk among their lost brothers and sisters, and to help guide them back. This, according to the readings, explains the presence of spiritual teachers throughout human history. They are the volunteer rescue teams, here to remind the prisoners that the door was never truly locked. The material world in this view became a self-perpetuating prison. Its primary mechanism, according to the Cayce readings, is the cycle of reincarnation. Now, in many spiritual traditions, reincarnation is seen as a school for the soul. Cayce's readings largely support this, framing each life as an opportunity for growth. However, when you look at it through a more critical, Gnostic-inspired lens, a darker interpretation can emerge. Could this endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth be more than a classroom? Could it be a cosmic recycling program designed to wipe the soul's memory and send it back into the system? Think about the veil of forgetfulness that descends at birth. We arrive with no conscious memory of past lives or our spiritual origins. While Cayce suggested this amnesia allows for a genuine experience of free will, it's also the prison's most effective feature. A prisoner with no memory of freedom might not even know they're a prisoner. This cycle is governed by the law of karma, or cause and effect. Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. This isn't punishment from an angry God, but an impersonal law of balance. However, for a soul trapped in forgetfulness, karma can feel like a wheel of suffering. We might be bound by invisible chains of our own making, drawn into situations and conflicts that echo unresolved patterns from lives we don't remember. The concept of soul groups adds another layer. The readings suggest we often reincarnate with the same group of souls, playing different roles for one another to balance karma. But this can also create intense attachments and cycles of codependency that bind souls to the earth plane, life after life. Love, grief, and guilt can become the strongest bars of the cage. When we interpret these mechanics this way, a chilling picture takes shape. A system where souls, crippled by amnesia, are bound by karmic debts they don't recall and trapped by emotional attachments that ensure their return. If this is resonating with you, if you've ever felt there's more to your existence than you've been told, subscribe for more hidden knowledge. And let us know in the comments, what part of this cosmic story feels true to you? Have you ever felt the echoes of a past life, or an inexplicable connection to a person or place? Share your experience below. If we are truly in a maze of our own making, how can we ever hope to find a way out? According to the Cayce readings, the first step is to remember who you are. And that memory isn't lost forever. It's meticulously stored in a place that exists outside of time and space, the Akashic Records. Cayce described the Akashic Records, a concept from Theosophy, as the universe's supercomputer system or God's book of remembrance. It's not a physical library, but a vibrational field of energy that contains a perfect record of every soul's journey. Every thought, deed, and emotion from every lifetime is supposedly imprinted on this cosmic film. It's your soul's ultimate hard drive. When Cayce entered his trance state, he claimed this was his source. He said he was reading the life record of the individual before him. He believed he could see their karmic patterns, the talents they'd developed in other lives, and the spiritual purpose they had set for themselves. This concept is the master key within his philosophy. It means that nothing is ever truly forgotten. Your divine origin, the reason you entered this material experiment, and the lessons you've learned are all perfectly preserved. The veil of forgetfulness isn't a memory wipe. It's a firewall that temporarily blocks your conscious mind from the data. The existence of the Akashic Records implies that the prison is one of limited perception. We're trapped not because the exits are sealed, but because we've forgotten where to find the map. The map is our own soul history, and the readings suggest we don't need Edgar Cayce to access it for us. The records are supposedly available to everyone. How do we begin to pierce this veil? Cayce's work suggests our own lives are constantly providing clues. That feeling of déjà vu, the instant recognition you feel with a stranger, a natural talent you can't explain. These might not be random glitches. Within this belief system, they are data packets bleeding through from the soul's memory, reminding you that there is a much bigger story playing out just beneath the surface. The path to escape begins with learning to read these clues. So, how do we move from being a prisoner of circumstance to a conscious co-creator again? Cayce's escape plan isn't a single event, but a profound shift in consciousness. It's not about physically leaving the world, but about spiritually transforming your experience in it. The readings lay out a practical path built not on strange rituals, but on applying spiritual principles in daily life. The first and most crucial step, according to Cayce, is to set a spiritual ideal. This is your compass. An ideal is a high principle you choose to live by: love, service, forgiveness, truth. You define what this means to you and then try to apply it in every interaction, every day. When you face a challenge, you don't just ask, "What should I do?" but "What would love do here?" This conscious alignment starts to rewire your mind and spirit, lifting your vibration. The second step is the power of service. Cayce was adamant that spiritual growth is not a selfish journey. He taught that the fastest way to break free from your own karmic wheel is to help someone else with theirs. Service dissolves the ego, which is the warden of the soul's prison. When you help another soul, you're remembering the fundamental truth that we are all connected. The third step involves the tools of attunement through meditation and prayer. If the material world is noise that drowns out the divine signal, meditation is turning down the volume. It's quieting the analytical mind so you can hear the whisper of your soul. Prayer, in the Cayce sense, isn't about begging an external God for favors. It's about aligning your will with the divine will that lies within. These practices strengthen the bridge between your conscious mind and your soul. Finally, Cayce stressed that this is a journey of gradual growth. Liberation doesn't happen overnight. His readings often use the phrase, line upon line, precept upon precept. You build your freedom day by day, choice by choice. Every time you choose patience over anger or forgiveness over resentment, you loosen one of the bars of your cage. You're meeting your karma with grace and transforming it. The readings also suggest that we may be in a time of collective spiritual evolution, where as more individuals awaken, it creates a powerful energy that makes it easier for everyone else to do the same. We've journeyed through a cosmic story that is both breathtaking and deeply unsettling. A story as told through the transcripts of Edgar Cayce, of our divine origin as powerful co-creators. We've explored his narrative of a voluntary descent into matter that became a prison of our own making as we succumbed to a great forgetting. We've seen how, in this framework, the laws of reincarnation and karma can function as the mechanics of a soul trap. But the story doesn't end there. It ends with a message of hope. The cage in this view is not made of steel, but of perception. The chains are forged from forgetfulness, and the key to unlocking the door has been in our possession all along, stored within the immortal memory of our own soul, which Cayce believed was accessible through the Akashic Records. The escape plan isn't a secret doctrine, it's a call to live differently. It's the commitment to a spiritual ideal, the practice of selfless service, and daily attunement to the divine within. It's the patient process of remembering who we truly are. That persistent feeling you might have, that sense of being an exile in a strange land, is not a sign that you are broken. According to this philosophy, it's a sign that you are waking up. The prisoner is beginning to remember the world outside the walls. The feeling of being lost isn't a curse. It's a call from your own soul, urging you to stop looking for a home in this world and start remembering the one you came from. The journey back to the stars begins within.
If this message has awakened something in you, please share this video with someone you feel needs to hear it.
The more of us who begin this journey of remembering, the brighter the path becomes for everyone. Subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden knowledge that can transform your life. And tell us in the comments, what is the one spiritual ideal you will commit to living from this day forward? Thank you for watching.